Wallabies Northern Tour for the end of 2021. I've written November on the board, but their tour actually gets underway in October. So it's underway this weekend with their first game against Japan. Though we'll go through the squad, kind of some of the ins and outs, some of the reasoning that we've heard from Dave Rennie. And you guys can let me know your thoughts on how things are looking with the Wallabies. Remember, they turned it around pretty well in their Rugby Championship campaign. New Zealand, I don't know if you want to call it a bogey team or just the fact that New Zealand have got the wood on the Aussies at the moment. But other than the games against New Zealand, the Wallabies, they look pretty good, man. Defensively, in attack, there's lots building. Dave Rennie rotated his squad a wee bit. Some young guys got a chance, some older guys got a chance. I guess the key talking points about this squad will be the overseas-based players, as a few uncapped players, and then some of the guys who've been left at home for whatever reasons. But even against New Zealand, the Wallabies were able to score some points, but they just conceded way too many. In props, they've got Alaalatoa, Tupou, Robertson, Slipper, and Bell. The likes of Seo missing. Greg Holmes hasn't travelled. I don't know if he was ever expected to travel. Pone Fa'amusili was initially named, but he's withdrawn from the squad due to a calf injury. So it's pretty much the same guys who played in the Rugby Championship. Largely, it's a bit of a mixture of youth and experience. Like Slipper's, 32 years old. He's got 100 plus caps, and then you got Bell, who's 21-year-old with 12 caps. So good mix. And how Tupou goes up in the Northern Hemisphere will be an interesting one to see. Hookers is where Dave Rennie seems to be chopping and changing like nobody's business. How many guys have we seen play in number 2 under him? But you've got Latu, who's come in. He's one of your overseas-based guys. McInerney is one of your uncapped guys. And then Fainga and Kaitu'u. Kaitu'u, I think, has been a bit of a revelation off the bench. He seems to be a really good physical guy to bring on. 10-15 minutes to go. Pretty good line-out thrower. But, I can't remember if Ulysses is injured. He's always injured, seemingly. But he's not in the mix. Lockie Lonergan was one of the guys in the mix. He's essentially been told to bulk up a little bit. Dave said that he's maybe a little bit light for the games up north. So, kind of a little bit of chopping and changing. Paenga Mosa, I don't know if they mentioned specifically why he's not in the squad. But either way, he seems pretty happy to give these guys a crack. Locks, you've got Skelton, who's come back in, Arnold, who's come back in, and the existing guys with Swain, Rodder, and kind of Leota Phillip. I guess Leota's that guy who kind of fills in lock, loose forward. But Skelton's a bit of big news. He only ever had 18 caps for the Wallabies. If you love the phrase big unit like I do, he's about as big as a unit as you'll get, man. He's a proper man mountain. If you haven't seen him since he's been in Europe, because it's been a lot of years now, he trimmed it down a wee bit. I think maybe more so at Saracens. Now he's moved to France with La Rochelle. I think he seems a little bit bulkier, but he's been playing pretty well whenever I've seen them playing in Europe. And likewise Rory Arnold. They're playing for two of the top clubs in France, essentially both of them. So Arnold has been with his brother. Just been doing all the line-out stuff, the maul defense stuff that you would kind of come to expect from him. I guess that's kind of the big news. Salakai Loto seems to be one guy. Dave Rennie did kind of talk about him being a guy who stepped aside because he wanted to be, I think, with his partner for the birth of a child. And then Dave Rennie basically just said other guys have stepped up. Sometimes that happens when you, give someone else a chance. So he's been given stuff to work on. He's been given the time, the off season to kind of recuperate, rest, and come back next year into full form. But he's outside the squad at the moment when he was a kind of mainstay for quite some time. Lucy's, you got Swinton, Valtini, Hooper, who's captain, obviously, Samu, and McMahon. Not all these guys will necessarily be available because the Japan game anyway, falls outside the test window. So I think they're kind of hopeful that the likes of McMahon may be available because he's based in Japan anyway. But I would say the guys like Latu, Skelton, and Arnold will certainly be with their clubs in France. Looking forward to the November games rather than the first one. But McMahon, who featured off the bench briefly, in that final game of the Rugby Championship. He is there. So, yeah, not a heck of a lot doing. I guess some of the bigger stories with the Lucies is kind of the guys who were omitted, like Harry Wilson has again been told to take the off-season, have a rest, and been given some areas to develop kind of longer term. Fraser McCrate is another one. So there's I guess just some guys who've been kind of mainstays in recent times. Dropped my pen somewhere. It's disappeared into a pile of my kids' rubbish on the floor. There it is, under the chair. Yeah, some of them have just been essentially told to... They've been given stuff to work on. So at least that's a bit of good news. For the backs, you got McDermott, White and Gordon as your halfbacks. So that's your three guys who were in the Rugby Championship. So nothing really doing there. Cooper and O'Connor are the two 10s. So a 33-year-old and a 31-year-old. Lolesio is one of the guys who's omitted. Loloseo's been told to bulk up a little bit. And, yeah, again, take the full pre-season for Super Rugby and get back into good form. So, I mean, it's obviously a pity for him, but maybe it's kind of time to recharge the batteries and look for what Dave wants him to focus on. So, Quade's availability will be an interesting one to see with, you know, the Japan game falling outside the window as well. Midfielders, you got the likes of Parise, Hodge, if he's a midfielder or an outside back, Foketi, Karevi, Ikito, Paisami, and then Pataya, I think, has got more of the outside back, fullback thing about him at the moment, so maybe you won't call him an outside, a midfielder. Parise and Foketi are two of your uncapped guys. Parise has been injured for ages, so he was initially named, I think, but good to see him back in the mix. He'll defensively need to be sharp if he's going to play in the internationals, but going forward, he is certainly a blockbusting runner. Karevi is apparently back fit, so it's a good one, but again, availabilities outside the test window for the October game is not sure. Paisami's kind of been out of the mix for a while, but yeah, a bit of mix. Like, I mean, two uncapped guys amongst the other guys. I mean, Ikitau's there, he's 9 caps, but he seems kind of established at the moment, at least in recent times. His partnership with Karevi has been pretty good. And then, yeah, outside backs, you can count Hodgie there if you want. And then Pataya, Kellaway, Dalgunu, and Tom Wright. Initially, they had Marika Korambeti as well, but he's decided to kind of do the family commitments thing because his missus has been, I think, in lockdown by herself for ages. So, yeah, he's kind of decided not to go on the tour. Tom Banks is injured. Matt Tamua is injured, so those guys not available for selection. But yeah, Dalguna, he didn't get any game time in the Rugby Championship, so good to see him in the squad without Korambeti there, so maybe he's a guy who can fill in, but I like Tom Wright as well. So yeah, there's a few overseas guys, a few uncapped guys like Parise, Foketi, McInerney, and then some guys with single-digit caps, the likes of Kaitu, the likes of Ikito, Dalgunu, Wright, Callaway. Like the average number of caps, it's like 26 for the oh no, it's 22, sorry, for the backs, and 27, 28 for the forwards. So kind of light-ish. I think the South Africans are in the 30s and the squad is around about 26 years old. So 2023, you feel like Dave's going to have things maybe pretty well sorted. Fixtures are Japan this weekend, and then they've got the next game is Scotland on the 8th of November, so there's a bit of a gap between the first game and second game. England and then Wales kind of week on week. I think the Scotland game is a Sunday, so it's a shorter turnaround to the England game, which could be interesting as well. If you guys are in the States, these games are on Flow Rugby, so affiliate of them. Link down in the description if you guys want to watch. They've got a ton of the autumn games on, so yeah, check out their schedule if you've got VPN as well. Flow seems to work a trick, but there you go. How do you guys reckon the Wallabies are going to go? It is a bit of a mix. Some previous favourites seem to be on the outer. Some young guys have been told to work on their work-ons in the off-season down here. And some of the old hands from the overseas-based guys are back in the squad. So it is a real mix. You guys let me know your thoughts. Do you think the Wallabies can go 4 from 4? Do you think England may be a troublesome one? Scotland and Wales by no means are going to be easy beats for sure. Japan even is a tough team, Matt. It's a tough tour. As I said, the Wallabies did well but this is going to be an all new, different kind of test for them. You guys let me know your thoughts, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.